Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. I, as always, am, wait for it, Andrew McKee. Woo! And has been, well, I guess I haven't been on for a couple of weeks, so it has been a few weeks. So thank you for your patience and for coming back to see me. It has been a bit crazy trying to go back and forth between here and Austin to try to finalize a few things for my I'm fully on the road endeavor. And I'm pretty much there. I've got like 5 more things on my list to finish up before I leave in a couple of days. So that's it. And I'm going to be knocking off, I think, 2 or 3 of them tonight before I go to sleep. So we're really getting there. I know. Could be a doppelganger. You never know. But hey, hello, Jan and Katsarita and Kevin and Kat. And Alicia, thanks for joining. Always appreciated. I'm still working on the new hat, and that is certainly a lot more blue than the faded version that I had before. But yes, I went ahead and treated it with the Scotchgard UV protection a few times. So here's hoping this stays bright blue throughout the next year. It'll be a good test to see how well that works, because I am going to be out at Faire more next year than I've ever been before for a year. So here's hoping. But yeah, the packing's going great. I've really, it's been an interesting process of downsizing. I mean, I'm sure all of y'all have gone through it at some point or another, but for me, it's been wow, just hardcore downsizing. I mean, I downsized a lot when I moved out, and then I've just continually been trying to pare it down and optimize and get a few new bags and containers to try to just make everything as optimal as possible, and rethought several things that I need or don't need, and it's been good. It's been a good process. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So this will be an interesting test. I will be reporting on the hat throughout the year, so don't worry. And Kathy, hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, it has. It's been interesting, to say the least. An interesting time to say goodbye to Austin. I'm going to be going back there tomorrow just to finish up a couple of things, and then that's it. I mean, I'm going to be gone for a while. So really strange to not have a definitive home base anymore. But at the same time, so exciting. I know. And here's the thing, Jan. Something my parents told me that they had to deal with when, my grandfather passed away and everything, that when you... if you don't downsize during your life, somebody else is going to have to afterwards. And it's if you think it's not fun for you, imagine what it'd be like for them. So just saying, think ahead. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's been oddly therapeutic, is how I will phrase it. Yeah, oddly therapeutic. It's been freeing just to get rid of a lot of things and realize how I really don't need most of this stuff. A lot of the stuff I had was just, maybe I'll need it someday, or, this kind of meant something once, although it doesn't anymore. Stuff like that, and a lot of stuff like that. And the more I started to get rid of things, the more I started to realize that and be comfortable with it. It's been very good for me, I think. You're not wrong, Katsarita. Yes. We'll see how that goes. I mean, and that's what this next year is going to be like on Fair Life, too. I'm going to be reporting a lot about how that's going and cool things I'm doing and trying to do. But hopefully, my goal is to try to get more pictures and video of the fairs I go to and try to get some of that for you so that you can get a little, I guess, kind of mini reviews of some of the different fairs and the cast and the performers and all of that. I've been wanting to do that for years, but it's been, for various things that I've been pushed around, and Alicia too had to go through and do things. So yeah, it's very, very cathartic. And hey, Nancy, thanks for joining. So you just have to wait out the problem as well. Yeah, okay, Kevin, you're not wrong. I mean, you can just leave it for the next guy. And yeah, I guess it just depends on who would probably be taking care of that for you. And as far as leaving your stuff behind and how much you hate them. Keep that in mind. Unless you're some really famous writer and you think that it's gonna, for posterity, it would be good and people would appreciate it. Most people know, and although we're not the best judges about posterity and what they're going to think of us, my ego is not quite that big, and I did keep enough things where, if for some reason people think, "Wow, he was great." They'll be happy, but it's believe me, a lot of that stuff. I mean, let's just say there's a lot of pens I really didn't need, and I think posterity will forgive me for getting rid of them. And hey, Dan, great to see you. Right, and honestly, me too. I had some boxes I hadn't gone through in over a decade. And I realized, yeah, I mean, when you do that, you realize how little you need some of that stuff. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten my promise, Chris. I will get there. Yeah, totally, Alacia, totally. She's in denial. Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's been like that. Yeah. Right. Well, okay. Yeah, the first one, not the second. I still have pens, but writing utensils, I should say. And believe me, I have plenty, but I didn't need that many. I could have started many schools with the number of writing utensils I had. Little crazy. Yeah. I mean, I guess some people collect too many cats and dogs. I had way too many writing utensils. I don't know. I was a writing utensil pack rat. It was very odd. Those realizations about yourself you come through. I mean, it like I said, it's very life affirming and very therapeutic to get rid of a lot of stuff. Totally. So yeah. So next, in a couple of days, I'm heading to the Louisiana Ren Fair, and I will be there for 6 weeks. And it will be, it's one of my favorite fairs. Not just my favorite fair now, but one of my favorite fairs I've ever done. It's a lot of fun. I love a lot of the people there, and it's just been it's a nice fair that you can't even call a small fair anymore. It's definitely a medium-sized fair, but it's fun, and it's at a time of year when there's not a lot of other fairs going on. Although you'll see there are a few fairs going on this weekend. We're in a weird transition time where a lot of fairs have ended last weekend, and next weekend, you got a few fairs that, for those one weekend fairs, that kind of sneak in there just to try to have their moment without competition. So it's interesting, but as the next month goes on, there's going to be fewer and fewer fairs, and it's going to be interesting. So I'll talk about that more over the next few weeks. So definitely. And hey, Lisa. Doom boxes? Doom boxes? Is that like, you don't mean boom boxes and that's a typo. There's actually something called doom boxes? Is that like stuff that is upsetting if you open it and look at it, but you've held on to it just in case? I don't know. I'm not quite sure of the doom box phrase. Oh, is that what that means? Okay. Interesting. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm the only one who didn't know about doom boxes. I guess I just I never thought about that. Bunch of stuff that needs to be gone through. Well, okay, then I had a doom closet as opposed to a box. So yeah, and really a lot of it I just went ahead and threw away. It was like one big pile of toss. That's what I did, and I should have done it a long time ago. But sometimes you need a good kick in the ass to do it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, Doombox. I just the phrasing. It's a weird way to put it because it comes across like something that would be in a fantasy movie or book, where it's like, ooh, you shouldn't open the doom box, things will happen, kind of thing. So that's why I was kind of like, is that some sort of reference I'm not getting? Because it happens. Just curious, but okay, good to know. Well, then I guess this is a good segue, because speaking of things that need to be gone through, yes, that's true, and this is good, because I'm going to tell you a little story real quick, and this is a fun one. I read about this last week, and definitely wanted to include it and talk about it, because I found it really interesting for all of you, fans of literature. That in Ireland, a clinical pharmacist named Brian Cleary happened to be in, the National Library of Ireland, and the reasons why are kind of long and convoluted, but essentially he had a quick onset of hearing loss, and the doctors are working on it and doing stuff, and he kind of took time away from work. And when you can't hear very well, what do? You read. And he's an avid reader anyway, so he would go to the library and just look in the archives and for interesting tidbits of the past, and it was interesting to him. Well, he happened to stumble across something. He stumbled on an ad from early 1891. This was in a newspaper, and it was it was interesting in that it was a reference to a story from the year prior that was written by Bram Stoker. So he's kind of like, oh, well, that's cool. Let me check for that. So he looked, and he found the specific article and issue, and this was from December 17th or something of 1890, and it had a short story by Bram Stoker, and he was a huge Bram Stoker fan. The title of it was Gibbet Hill, and he was confused because he thought he knew all of Bram Stoker's works. That wasn't on the list. So he did some research, looked at the biographies and the bibliographies, and looked, and it wasn't referenced anywhere he could easily find. So he immediately talked to the head of the library, and then even got in contact with a famous biographer of Bram Stoker, and they confirmed this was a long-lost short story by Bram Stoker. And for that moment, he was the only living person who had read this story. Kind of a cool feeling, right? That's really wild. So yeah, it's amazing what you can find, and I thought that was really cool. I know it's not exactly Renaissance, but it's slightly older, and certainly interesting that you can find these things. Just they get lost. I mean, somebody as famous as Bram Stoker, and researchers, historians totally missed this short story. It's not very long, so yeah. I thought it was really cool. If you're interested, you can look it up. Let me see. I think I can post this real quick for you and just throw it in. Let's see. Here's the link to the National Library graphic, so you can actually read it. I think that'll go through, and yeah, that'll be on Facebook. And let's see. I have to try this on YouTube too. I didn't get a chance to. There we go. Here's YouTube. Nice. Okay. And yeah, that's you can take a look at that, and if you want to actually read it, it's not very long. I'll go ahead and include a OCR version in text form that some people did. It's fairly accurate, so that'll at least give you an idea. But I just, in case you just want to read the text, if you're a Bram Stoker fan, or you're just curious to read a story that not many people have read in the last 100+ years, that's it's kind of interesting. So yeah, there you go. Just a little bit of information to go along, and a little bit of trivia. And I also saw this morning that they uncovered a new waltz by Chopin. I know that is almost 200 years old. That was in somebody's collection and had been donated to a library. They knew about it, but it had never been passed along to any historians or referenced in any way, shape, or form. It was always private collectors. And partly because, well, it had his name on it. And I think it was very small, short waltz, especially compared to the other stuff he's written. So the significance may not have been realized, but it's just amazing what you can find. Yeah, that's it was Chopin. That's what I was just talking about that. Right, and I totally agree with you, Alicia. Lost works, you never know. You never know. It's very true. Very true. So yeah, that's a good feeling, really, because I mean, there's lost movies, lost books, lost art. I mean, certainly you get some of the really ancient ones from a few thousand years ago, and the odds are not great. But you never know, and that's why historians and archaeologists and all of them do their work, because maybe they won't find anything in their lifetime, but if they don't look, they definitely won't. So. Oh yes. Yeah, Desk Set. That is an interesting film. Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy. Cute film about the research group of a newspaper and how they go computerized. And it's it's kind of a Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn. Of course, it's a romantic comedy, but definitely interesting. That's a classic. Uh, well, Lost in Space. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there were some of my writings that I just tossed, honestly, but they were just they weren't worth. I mean, they weren't really anything. I kept all the important things. I'm pretty sure. At least I hope. It was. I was in a rush, and that made it It made it very difficult. Towards the end, I was just throwing stuff in trash bags. It was at that point, and yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do. Well, I mean, this predated anything digital, and even the analog stuff was, well, when they talk about a bug in the computer, they actually meant a physical bug that was walking around and messing stuff up inside the computer. That's how old that was. Yeah. The classics. Well, anyway, it's already, wow, 7:18. Let me go ahead and jump onto the Faire list real quick, and then I'll talk about a little music. So yeah, let's do that. Here we go. Yeah. You'll notice there are 14 fairs, at least notable fairs, going on this coming up weekend. And it is, yeah, I mean, most of them are southern. A lot of the northern fairs ended. They usually stop around the end of October with the Halloween kind of themed weekend, and then boom, they're done, because it's starting to get pretty cold up there, at least potentially. Depends on the time of year, I mean, or the year. Sometimes the cold fronts come in, sometimes they take a little longer. But yeah, they worry about that. So now we're kind of going to the southern fairs in the later part of the year. And a good percentage of them are one weekend fairs. So yeah, after this weekend, we'll see how many there are left. Probably not many. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in and do the full list here. Yay! Oh yeah, before I forget, let's go ahead and do the aha. Yay! Got it. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do the laser pointer. Starting at the top, we have the Delaware Renaissance Fair in Townsend, Delaware. This is the second weekend out of 3, and it is Fantasy Weekend. Jumping down into Maryland, we have the Vikings Con in La Plata, Maryland. Just this one weekend. This is on the cusp. I mean, it's kind of an indoor-outdoor fair / convention where they have people in media relating to Vikings that sign autographs as well indoors. But then they have a lot of regular fair Viking event stuff outside. But because it's starting to get winter, I give it a pass, because there are a few events that have started to go indoors in the winter, even though they're a fair, and I get it. I think it's better just to have something, even in an off time of year. So I've been watching it. It's been going on for a few years, so it's not bad. So I include it. Going south, we have the Carolina Renaissance Festival in Huntersville, North Carolina. This is weekend 5 out of 8. And it is one of my favorite themes, Celtic Music Weekend. Yeah, not bad. All right, jumping down to Georgia, we have Weekends of Whimsy Fantasy Festival, just the one weekend in Barnesville, Georgia. This is a fairy festival. Going down to Florida, we have the Lady of the Lakes Renaissance Fair in Tavares, Florida. This is the first of 2 weekends, but interestingly enough, the first weekend is a 3-day weekend. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then a little farther south in Florida, we have the Sarasota Medieval Fair. This is in Mayaca City, Florida, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. This is the first out of 5 weekends, so this is going to go on for a little while, and it is a lot of Viking stuff, Viking Invasion Weekend. Jumping over up to Kentucky, we have the Fenrir Viking Festival. This is its 2nd year going on, and it's in Eminence, Kentucky. Just the one weekend, a 3-day weekend, Friday through Sunday. Then, and don't forget Tennessee. We have the Appalachian Renaissance Fair of Tennessee in Greenville, Tennessee. It's just the one weekend as well. Going over to Arkansas, we have the Hot Springs Renaissance Fair in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Also, just the one weekend. And down in Louisiana, I might be biased, but one of the best fairs, and probably because I'm going to be there, at the Louisiana Renaissance Festival in Hammond, Louisiana. This will be its first out of 6 weekends, and the theme is Romance and Masquerade. Then jumping over into Texas, we have the Whispering Grove Fair in Kirbyville, Texas. This is the middle of the road for it. It is weekend 3 out of 5. And, it feels weird to be so close to the Texas Renaissance Festival at that time of year. But if you start looking at some of these other fairs up here and over here, I mean, it's Texas. So even though that looks close percentage-wise in the state, it's several hours away. So, yeah, don't... it's more of a distance than you think. So I get it. Jumping over to the Texas Renaissance Festival in Todd Mission, Texas. It is the weekend 4 of 8, so just about to get to the halfway point there, and the theme is Pirate Adventure. So, yes. Then jumping over to New Mexico, we have the Renaissance Arts Fair in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Just the one weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now this one is one of the oldest fairs on the list of the whole year. It's been going on since 1972, and still just the one weekend. That's the way they like it sometimes, so good for them. Jumping over to California, in very southern California, we have the second weekend and last weekend of the Escondido Renaissance Fair, and I know I'm mispronouncing that, and it's in Escondido, California, and that's the fall version. They have a spring and a fall version. Also, something that fairs have been starting to do more and more. We'll see if that trend continues to have a spring version and a fall version of the fair. Kind of an interesting route. So, okay, good. Sounds about right. That's great to hear. So there we go. That is the fair list. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So yeah. Yeah, definitely an interesting list, I think. Like I said, about 6 of the 14 are just the one weekend thing, and the other one is ending this weekend. So, yeah, we won't have as much, definitely won't have as many fairs the following weekend, and it's just going to keep decreasing and decreasing as the time goes on. Because, well, yeah, that's what happens in the fall. So it's going to be interesting to see the change and what happens there. That's just astonishing to me, but I guess I've been doing this long enough. I happen to accidentally remember something. Okay, fine. Fair enough. But okay. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and jump over to one thing I've been talking about, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, was working on Whiskey in the Jar. And Whiskey in the Jar is, well, I mean, it's an interesting kind of interesting kind of song that has been around for, well, hundreds of years in some form or another, and it's gone through many changes, adaptations, variations, and it's been popular, been forgotten, grown in popularity again. I mean, decade after decade, century after century. It's an interesting history of a song, and I really like that about it. Some of the older versions are certainly a lot more clear about the story, and the newer versions, it kind of got popular again in the 1960s, and kind of diverged into two main versions. You had the folk version and kind of the punk version. And the folk version kind of had two main arrangements. You had the fast version and the slow version. I guess I'm definitely oversimplifying, but that's the gist. And it kind of works. It just depends on what you want. But my gripe with it was always twofold. One, Jenny's motivations and the main character's motivations towards Jenny never made sense at all. I mean, with the song at face value, they never explained that. Why did she betray him and sell him out to the authorities? And they don't really make that clear. But at the very end, he seems to still care for her regardless. So either he thinks he's just that type of personality, or he feels bad about it and blames himself. Which is it? So it's kind of interesting in that. The other problem I had was towards the end of the song when he's in jail, and then he talks about, well, if I can go find my brother, he can save me. And I'm like, you're in jail. How does that work? It never really made much sense, the ending. It was fanciful at best. It really was just it seemed a little weird. And for those of you that don't know the song, I'll stop there because it's I could go into great detail and analysis. But what I did was I went back a long ways to look at different versions of the song, and part of the problem I had was the fast version of the song is pretty popular at Faire, the fast folk version. Or the punk version sometimes, depending on the band. And it's hard to understand the lyrics anyway with that. You're pretty much relying on the melody. Melody's pretty fun. Most of the popularity, I think, stems from the chorus, where everybody just sings along the musha ring, damadoo, damada, whack full the daddy-o, whack full the daddy-o, it's whiskey in the jar. The idea of why whiskey in the jar? I mean, it's a weird phrase to just throw in there because it actually doesn't seem to have anything to do with the song at all. So that's the other weird part. Now, there's two schools of thought among musicologists that there's the, you're not wrong. There's the clap, clap, clap in there. Yeah, there's that. People clap along. And it's the interactive part that makes people like it. But the whole musha ring damadoo damada, some people think that that's actually a bastardized version of Gaelic, and it actually means something. Others think it's just It's just simple, random word singing that is popular in Irish folk music. So, I mean, that's not uncommon. So it could go either way. I mean, I've read both versions and both theories, and both kind of have a point. It definitely could be a bastardized version of Gaelic, and part of it does seem like it could even be about drinking, so that kind of goes along with whiskey in the jar. But with singing it so fast, it's always been a problem. So yeah, I'm kind of been going over it, and my solution was to do it a bit slower, and then also add a verse in there towards the end from one of the older versions of the song, dating back from the 1800s, that nobody really does anymore, and it always bugged me. So how I'm looking at doing it is adding the verse after they took him off to jail. A verse that says, "So they put me into jail without a judge or writing for robbing Captain Farrell upon the Kerry Mountain. But they didn't take me fists, so I knocked the sentry down, and I bid a last farewell to that jail in Dingle Town." So he essentially breaks out. And then all of a sudden, it goes into, "If anyone can aid me, it's me, brother in the army. And if I can find a station down in Cork or in Killarney," that makes sense. Now, some of the older versions also talk a little bit more about Jenny. Apparently, he promised that he wouldn't drink anymore because he kept coming home drunk every night, and she was sick of it. So he promised he wouldn't do it anymore, and she promised she wouldn't deceive him. But he lied. So he came home drunk again with the money from Captain Farrell, and that's why she just turned him in, because she'd had enough. And that's the gist, and why he still had fondness for it at the end of the song, because he did blame himself. So there you go. Oh, you have heard that verse from a couple of bands? Well, okay. I'm not the only one, because that is an older version. It doesn't happen from the original Dubliners from the 1960s. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. You're not wrong. I mean, so that's going to be, well, I was going to play it on guitar because I did kind of promise y'all, but I'm actually working on my guitar, and it's kind of in pieces. I'm installing a new pickup because the other old one was having some problems, and they don't make it anymore. It was a limited edition pickup, and it's a weird design, so I actually have to use my rotary tool and cut a slightly larger space in the side of the guitar for the pickup, and it's interesting. So I'm almost done. I tried today and I got most of it, but it's not quite there yet. I could theoretically put it back together now, but I'd need to put strings on, and I just didn't quite get there. I was probably another 30 minutes away from it. If I had 30 more minutes, I could have got it ready. But here's what I'm going to do. You'll notice there's a mandolin back there. I don't normally play mandolin for strumming. I usually use it as a melody instrument, but I'll play a little bit for you. Partly because I think Chris may, revolt and do that. So just to kind of give you an idea. So if you're willing, I will give it a shot. No promises. It's in the key of C, as how I'm doing it, in case you're curious. So here you go. I won't do the whole song, I'll just do a little bit of it. As I was going over the Farfin Kerry Mountains, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced me pistol, and then produced me rapier, saying, "Stand and deliver, for I am a bold deceiver." Musha ring dabba doo dabba da. Whack for the daddy-o. Whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I counted out his money, and it made a pretty penny. I put it in me pocket, and I took it home to Jenny. She said and she swore that she never would deceive me, but the devil take the women, for they always lie so easy. Musha ring da ba doo da ba da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. So that's kind of a rough idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm thinking about that sort of tempo. That might actually be a hair slower because I'm, like I said, not that used to the mandolin with that. And yeah, that was, this was literally played it a couple of times before I tried this on the on the show. But that is that gives you an idea, at least, of what I'm thinking. Key-wise, I think that's pretty good. I've tried a few different keys, and that just seems to be the best. Because if I go much lower, I think the problem tends to be that people just it doesn't quite have that oomph that people can hear from a distance. So I mean, I may still change the key, but that's kind of where I am with it. And you're right. I think LARF is kind of the way I'm gonna be able to try that. Oh, okay. That's cool. I did not know that. I came across it in my research. Probably he did too. So yeah, that's so there we go. A little bit of music, maybe not as much as I planned on, but that's the idea. And yeah, I think that'll work. It'll be interesting to see, and I may try a few different keys at LARF. One of the things about LARF is that I busk, and I'll play in the lanes throughout the day, so I can just keep playing songs or tunes in whatever order I want, however I want. So that makes it a lot easier. It's a great experience and time to try stuff. And so that this is going to be fun. I'm going to be doing that a lot from week to week, trying different songs and solidifying arrangements. Well, if you and there you go. If any of y'all find me at Louisiana, just mention, hey, play Whiskey in the Jar, and I will play it. So no problem. Well, I don't know if I'd like to phrase it that way, but sure, we can go there. But no, it will be fun. It will be fun. I think it's going to be a really good season again because, yeah, I mean, last year they put me in charge of the sound at the different stages. Asked me to help out and do that, and I did. But I got to the fair later than I intended, so I was spending the first weekend trying to just make sure all the sound was set up and all right. And then the second weekend, I was also doing a bit of that. So I didn't get to play much music the first couple of weekends. Really bothered me. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like, I'm glad I could help out. And I know the musicians and performers at the stages really appreciated it because, I actually cared and tried to make sure they sounded good. But I'm going to... I'm going to try to get as much done as I can on Thursday and Friday, and then try to just do some stuff Saturday morning, but not much, and bus for a while, take a break, and help people at the stages, and just kind of approach it that way for the first weekend. So I think I have a better grasp of how to make it work well. Because I realized very quickly that if I'm not playing music much, I mean, I know I can do the sound and I can help out, but I don't have as much fun. I really don't. Music is what makes this fun for me, by far. And if I didn't get to do that, then I start reevaluating and saying, maybe that desk job is the way to go. Because this is where the fun is. So anyway, I guess thanks again, and I will be playing more music as I go because, like I said, I'm going to be trying to do songs week to week. You're right. I mean, they don't get me wrong. They paid me for doing the sound, so I got extra money for that. But because of the way it worked out for those first couple of weekends, I probably made about the same amount as I would have without it, with the extra work. So I'm like, and that's not cool. I mean, I don't think I lost money, but it was close. It really was. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I've learned my lesson, so this year should be a lot better. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, take care. I will be on the road this week, and yeah, I've also got to figure out what audiobook I'm going to be listening to. But luckily I'm not that far away now. It's only a 6-hour drive from here to Hammond, Louisiana, so shouldn't be too bad. That, considering some of the drives I've made in the past year or two, that seems like a quick little trip to the market, honestly. So yeah, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy, relax, and prepare for a wonderful fall/winter of not so hot fairs, and enjoy. So I will talk to you next week, and have a good time, a good week, and as always, a fair life. Take care.